Okay, I think we'll get started. We'll kick it off. Welcome to this year's Solidworks Top 10 list. I'm Bruce Alway. John Sweeney will be presenting today. And I want to remind everybody that every year Solidworks puts in hundreds of enhancements. If you've been using, you know that. But those enhancements are ultimately driven by our users. And so to do that, we listen, and we listen in many ways. We have our alpha testing program. Some of you may have joined it. Every new feature, well, every major new feature, we like to test with users, make sure we're putting it in correctly, if we can improve it. Both PD and UX teams do quite a bit of that testing, even here at World. We collect thousands of enhancement requests from all of you every year, all users. And every one of those is accounted for. They all get read by the correct person, and they get analyzed to see if they're duplicates, and they get piled up. So we make sure we know where the demands are coming, and we pay attention to those greatly. So we're watching the forums, all the conversations. We get some great information over the forums. We do customer visits, in-person visits, PD, UX, product management. Everybody's required to do a certain number of a year. So it adds up to hundreds of visits every year where we sit there with the user and we watch them using it. And we may observe, we may ask a lot of questions, but we really want to know how it's working in their environment. We attend user group meetings, get a lot of good information from there. The VARs, especially the AEs, give us great information. Our tech support team, great source of information. And we do the SolidWorks World Top 10, as well as actually many other forms of listening. But I do want to talk a little bit about the history of the Top 10, because actually it started in 2001 in Orlando, the first Top 10. So this makes it the 20th year anniversary that we'll be collecting that information. And every year you can see we collect the 10 ideas, and down here I'm keeping the counting. So when you see those green check marks drop in, those are the top 10 items that we addressed in that year. So over time, by the way, Boston was a unique year. It was only a top 5. And the reason was it was so cold that year, we had a poor showing and we didn't get enough statistically significant input to actually call it a top 10. And in those days, we used to do it with machines. We used to have a laptop, and everybody had to, in person, go over to the laptop when you were at World in those days. Of course, now we do it online, so we get a lot more feedback. But New Orleans, you take a look. Title block wizard, there's all kinds of great, the slot feature got put in. Keep up here. The command manager was done in 2008. We did the copy drawing sheet. Clearance check, title block wizard, these are all cool things that coincided with those years that we happened to put in. Not necessarily all from the top 10, but this was the top 10. Mates when mirroring components, and more ways to create reference planes. I don't know if any old-time users are here, but it used to be very limited, creating reference planes. D-feature tool went in 2011. More types of assembly features too, yeah. Feature freeze, 2012. That's when that made it in. And we enhanced the equation. We re-architected the equation input. 2013, center of mass for parts and assemblies. You never had that center of mass referenceable feature there. So all good stuff. These all came from the top 10. Dangle children instead of deleting them. Remember that? You couldn't just suspend and keep working. Also, the slot mate went in back there in 2014. 2015, drawing a line from a midpoint. Seems like a small thing, but a kind of handy thing, and it came directly from the top 10. And also the option when you're making a linear pattern to have them evenly spaced between references. That was from the top 10. This was a cool one, auto hide assembly components while mating. Because I don't know if we'd have figured that out with a little coaching from you guys, or at least realize how important it was. 17, we did the both direction patterns. 18, explode lines. Explode line creation, automatic explode line creation. It was manual before that, I think. And last year in Dallas, bounding box values, we finished that for both parts and assemblies and put the bomb thumbnails when you export to Excel. So great stuff, all from the SolidWorks or 3D Experience World Top 10, formerly the SolidWorks World Top 10. You add them all up, and the ones that we have knocked off, 70 is a conservative number. It's more than 70% that we have addressed, I believe, if you check it. And that is conservative because there are several things in there that we kind of have addressed, but we didn't take credit because the way they were written up didn't exactly coincide with the way we addressed them. Also, we didn't take credit for these 12 requests. Over the years, they made it onto the top 10, requests to improve both quality and performance. We're not taking credit for it because we're not done. And I don't know if we'll ever be done, but we are always working very hard. John's going to give some progress reports, talk about that in a little bit. We know that is incredibly important. So that was the history. So what do we deliver in the latest release of SolidWorks, SolidWorks 2020? So here are some things from the past top 10 lists that came in 2020. Option for offset surface to offset all possible faces. So not sure everybody gets the problem here, but you may have a very complex network of faces and you want to offset them all, but there are some that cause a problem. In this area, you see those smaller little concave. If you're trying to offset too great a distance, it's going to be a problem. Well, before we implemented this, it used to be it would just fail. Then the user would go, it's probably that one, and they'd hunt and peck and try a smaller selection, see if that would work. So it'd be a lot of labor for the user to kind of debug the situation. What we did in 2020, you offset them all, select the faces, and when it fails, you get that little dialogue. If it fails, thank you, John. If it fails. You'll get that little dialogue with the message that we're analyzing the situation. So the cool thing is, after that's done, and it might take a few seconds or maybe half a minute or whatever, it will show you all the faces that are causing the problem and group them in that special highlighting up in the selection box. And if you look closely, there's a button that pops up, the property manager there, that says, remove all failing faces. It's also available on the right mouse click too. So, but the cool thing is, you hit it, it removes them, and it successfully offsets everything that can be offset. Now, of course, you, the user, you have to go and figure out what you're going to do to fill in for those faces. But boy, this case, it was only those small little concave faces in the middle that were causing the problem. So, great time saver. It's cool that it came from you guys. Another thing that we implemented in 2020, this was a request, close parent on save and copy. Everybody knows a save and copy and open. Apparently, closing the parent to some people is important. This was actually very easy for us to implement. We just added the dialogue, choose what you want, save that, it goes into your customization, it always does it that way. So some things are easy, some things are big. This was a big one. Allow any drawing to be loaded without the model. So, what we did in 2020, people probably know if you've hunted around, we've changed the open dialog. We now have a slider. And if you're in drawings, you're opening drawings, and that drawing that you're clicking on was saved in 2020, there will be, get some feedback, there will be a new option called detailing. That is for detailing mode. And here's what happens. I'm going to play a little video. Here's what happens. There we go, open. It opens, you see this was a pretty large model. Thank you, Eric. It opens pretty quickly. There you are dimensioning between holes, putting in your dimension, tolerance information, basically everything you need to do. Oh, and you can print a PDF from this as well, so it's really cool, really handy. Very good. Thank you. Okay, so now, how did the voting go for this year? So now, for this year's 3D Experience World Top 10. This is where we report what you guys voted on, so the top 10. And I gotta tell you, it was special this year. Let me explain.
That one, this is a top to what we use on stage, but it's very, very special because if you can see, the numbers all go to 11. Look, right across the board. 11, 11,
and most of
11,
the
and then
amps go up to 10.
Exactly.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
Yeah, we thought we'd crank it up this year. So anyways, yeah, you're getting your top 11, and let's take a look. Number 11. It's pretty cool. This was Reset Markup View. Markup View is relatively new. The UX team did that cool thing where you can mark up anything in SolidWorks, and people are using it. We're getting requests for it, so that Reset is a good request. This accurate and correct solid body sweep. So this, the great thing is the person who entered this did a lot of detail in here. So thank you. We realize the problem. It's work for us to do. Number 9, again, another markup. Use design library for markup reuse. So you can just, I guess, drag them out from design library. Cool idea. 8, allow SolidWorks the ability to view, edit, and create DXF. Number 7, toolbox. So this is if you're using that option, they want a warning. Need warning about make this folder the default search location for toolbox component option. And they explain in there why it can be a problem. And they got a lot of votes for it. So. Number 6, our SolidWorks file RMB rename assembly part if it has a drawing. They go on to explain that's what we used to be able to do with SolidWorks Explorer. We enabled it for parts and assemblies, but not drawings. Number 5, show PDM workflow stages to users as we do in Manage. Number 4, PDM again, show cut list items in Assembly BOM. Number 3, PDM should manage SolidWorks materials database. Number 2, ability to set up print orientation automatically. Again, great information where they even did some design work for us. And the number 1 request for 3D Experience World Top 10, focus on fixing bugs and missing stability. Quite honestly, that's one of the big reasons we went to 11. We know that we have to do that, and we didn't want to take away a vote from you guys. You shouldn't have to vote for that. So we understand that. So thank you for the feedback. So there's the summary of the top 11 for this year. And now my favorite part of this presentation. Oh, didn't come up, but what is this?
You forgot to introduce John. That's okay.
Well, my slide got taken away.
All right. Well, I think a few of you have watched in the main stage earlier today and on Monday. We said we were going to pop in and do a quick technology preview of what's coming in coming soon in SolidWorks. So a quick recap. We've actually done this 4 times already. We did 2 sessions on Monday. We covered sheet metal, and we covered assemblies on that day. Yesterday we did user interface and simulation, and today we've got some fun. Are y'all ready? So you may have seen this just a few seconds ago, but this one's just... Sorry, this one's just slightly different. Anyway, if you can't hear me, it's all good. So detailing, detailing mode. Hopefully you can hear me. Detailing mode. We did introduce this just this past year, right, in 2020. And as Bruce said, and as they did to...
Finalizing drawings, regardless of their size and complexity, just got even easier with detailing mode in SolidWorks. Not only can you now open massive drawings in seconds, you can also access more functionality to complete drawing work faster than ever. Introduced in SolidWorks 2020, detailing mode opened drawings without loading the model, but keeping the drawing views intact. There is no loss of detail, and users could easily move and copy views or add annotations and dimensions. We've expanded this functionality, and you can now edit legacy reference dimensions in addition to newly created dimensions. Here, a tolerance has been added. This functionality is actually in 2020 SP1, so you can put this to use today. Coming soon in detailing mode, designers can now add detail views while still taking advantage of the performance improvements. The detail view can be edited, and you can add dimensions and annotations, same as any other view. In addition to detail views, creation of break views and crop views are supported as well. Not only can you change the view definition parameters, but you can add annotations and dimensions. Of course, the UI is responsive, so anything not available in detail mode is grayed out. Another popular request was the ability to add hole callouts while detailing. This now works the same in detailing mode as it does in resolved mode. Callouts can be applied to holes defined by cut extrudes or the hole wizard. With detailing mode enhancements, productivity is further improved by allowing users to quickly add greater detail to drawings containing large assemblies, lots of sheets, many configurations, or resource-intensive views.
So that's it. Sorry for the quick interruption, but hopefully you like what's coming soon in detailing mode.
Thanks, Kurt. So this is my laptop. I don't have any videos, so I turned off video mode. I didn't tell you that, though. All right. And then we have Bruce's really nice transition slides. Yeah. That was my favorite part. Yeah. All right. So so the top voted thing from you guys was performance and quality and performance. As Bruce said, it's something we're always working on. But I want to give you a little bit of insight as to what we're doing, what's changed. We're always working on it. So what have we been doing the past year, really? At the beginning of 2019, we retested every single customer bug in the system. And you might say, well, that's not fixing bugs. How's that helping me? It actually helps us clear up the backlog and understand what's remaining that actually still needs to be fixed. Gets a clean slate for us to work on, as well as customers get notified. So when a bug is found not reproducible, somebody fixed it at some point, right? So we had about a 15% reduction in the backlog just by looking through all of them and retesting. And this was an R&D-wide event, several hundred people, as well as all of support. So really, it felt like the entire company was coming together to do this kind of bash over about the course of a month and a half. So really, it was kind of fun. I think everyone really got into it and understood how important it was. The result was around 5,000 customers got notified that their bug was fixed or resolved in the latest service pack. So that would have been 2020 SP1, they would have got a notice. Okay, so prior to that, I just want to give you an idea how we were looking at bugs, how we approached bugs. We were looking at the criticality of bugs. So based on our assessment of various parameters like the hit count, the type of bug, the escalation value. We were basically focusing on the top right portion. What we thought would give you guys the biggest impact, and maybe it was critical for 4 users and high for 1. So that type of effect, we were looking at those bugs. And over the course of last year, so a lot of these bugs were implemented or fixed in 2019 or 2020. We had a 50% reduction in what we measure internally. So our escalation value, we dropped it down. So the nice thing is, if you think about it, it went from a level of 36, which means nothing to you guys, to 17 on average. So we look at it and say, all right, we've gotten rid of the outliers. We've taken a lot of the critical bugs, the most important bugs to the user community and resolved them. So again, kind of like another clean slate. And what we've been doing the past 6 months or so, and for the next 24, is now we're widening that scope. So we did a good job getting the outliers, and now we can broaden the scope and again, start looking at more bugs. And we have an aggressive target for this. We're looking for a 90% reduction over the next 24 months. And we are making very good progress in the first 6 months here. So the linear line is our target. It's a 2-year line. And the curvy line is what we've done since January. And you can see we started working on it really in the fall, actually, so 4 or 5 months. So right now we're below the line, which is great. The bugs will get harder because the ones that we tend to avoid are the hard ones. And we want to get the ones fixed as quick as we can. And the more difficult ones, the more dangerous ones, they're going to happen later, but they will get more difficult. So the inverse of this, the bugs we're actually fixing, this shows the same kind of trend, right? So the past 2 years, you can see 18 and 19, there's been a dramatic rise in the number of bugs resolved. So this is a 5-year increment, and it's almost double. I went back 10 years, and it was still the biggest number by quite a bit. I didn't go any farther back, but there's a significant amount of bugs right now being resolved. So that's great. We're very happy about it. All right, performance topic. I'm just going to show you guys this. I'm not going to show any videos because I know they don't work on my computer. But in 19, 20, and 21, there's really 4 themes to what we've been doing in performance. The graphics pipeline, which has been a multi-year effort and was released after a few years as beta in 19 and in 2020 as a fully fledged piece of the operating system turned on by default. LDR edit mode that was put in also a couple years ago, so you can add components and mates to large assemblies very fast. Detailing mode, these guys just showed you, as well as a lot of workflow improvements in PDM. So those are the massive performance projects, big themed projects, and there's a lot of other little projects here that are also happening as well. All right, stability-wise, some of you may have seen this slide before. We have 3 real avenues to get feedback direct from the user community to R&D. All right, so we got joining the CEIP program, the crash dialogue, as well as the sentiment feedback. How many people have seen the sentiment, the smiley face? So it shows up in betas and in EVs as well. EV is when we actually put out a kind of a preliminary service pack called early visibility. So if SB2 is about to go, there will be an EV actually next Monday. So we give it 2 weeks for you guys to give feedback if you want. So these show up there. So not everyone has probably seen it. But we do monitor it. We monitor all this data. This data comes directly to us. And you're feeding this in, and we have our QA team is watching every single input, especially during EV. And we have to react quickly if you guys are telling us something. So again, it's a direct avenue, bypasses everything, bypasses resellers and tech support as well. Likewise, the crash dialogue, everyone's favorite dialogue. Comments. So we do read the comments. In fact, what we're seeing in the bottom here is our crash database, crash dash. So all this information is fed directly from the crash tool. All right, if you're in the CEIP program, the data comes to us automatically. If not, the crash dialogue, you'd have to choose to send it to us. All the comments you put in do come in, you can see they're circled here. They're literally right in front of us. I'm in this thing every day, and so are a lot of the other development managers. So the data, we're only showing some of it. There's quite a bit more to the right, but CrashDash has a lot of information that comes in, and comments, you can literally click them and see the comments. So I know a lot of the comments are, is anyone reading this? Yes, we are reading it. We actually are. So yes, but everything, whatever you can do as far as comments in this, it's great. It's extremely helpful to us. But you know, ideally, these are very hard things to fix, even if you tell us exactly what you did, because it might be more related to your model, how your model is constructed. It doesn't. The comments are great, and we want you to keep doing it. But ideally, you'd submit a bug with your reseller. Right? If you have something that's reproducible, most of the time we'll need your model and your workflow. That's the easiest thing to guarantee that we can fix it. All right, so if that would be great if we can do that. But otherwise, keep sending the comments, keep sending crashes if you hit them. All right, and then the reverse feedback direct to you guys. So when we do fix crashes, we don't publish all of them, but we have this new ability. I think it was in 2018. Where we can send stuff back. They check for solutions. This is on by default, but it's on the tools options dialog. And if that is enabled, when a crash happens, we can tell you directly. So the crash dialog comes up, and it'll have a green, this has been fixed, and it'll tell you what service pack or what hotfix it's fixed in. We need to do a better job, I keep saying this every year, at publishing fixes. So we don't publish all of them, but we try and publish the most common ones that you guys will get. That you guys might be seeing. And then this other little thing, this can be an indicator for you, perhaps. This is the DLL name plus an offset. It's basically the place in the code where it crashed. And it might give you a hint, right? If it says, you know, some kind of graphics name DLL or NVIDIA or something else, maybe an add-in, it might give you a hint that, oh, let me turn off that add-in, or let me go check my driver. So it's not going to help you fix everything, but it also is an ID. So you could tell us that number per service pack, and we could go find it and see where it is. Okay. Also, just on the stability front, we have a dedicated team of people. I mentioned CrashDash. There's a dedicated team that's working in there continually. And right now, the focus is on hangs. And the reason we are now able to focus on hangs is because of this. So this is the white glaze mechanism we put in place in 2019. So Microsoft normally, on all other applications probably that you run, controls this themselves. If an application is not responding, so it's either hung or it's busy churning, Microsoft puts the white glaze over it. And it's just trying to tell you it's not responding, you might want to kill it. So SolidWorks has a lot of long-running operations, so people were killing it. And the problem, and sometimes it's a hang, don't get me wrong, it's not always the long-running processes. But when people kill it, we get no information at all other than the session was chopped off. So this white glaze mechanism lets us control it a lot better. First of all, it will tell you, you can see the command name that's running here. It'll tell you what command is running most of the time. Sometimes it struggles to figure that out. And sometimes we're just on the forum, if anyone here has posted those. So it shows the tooltip of the command that was running. So it's trying to do it generically, right? If you click a button and whatever that tooltip was, it shoves it into this dialog. So sometimes it doesn't always make perfect sense. It's a little bit odd. I think the example that was on the forum was save converted or file converted or something. It was actually the save button, when the model gets upgraded and it says save converted model or something like that. It was a strange tooltip, but it was basically the save operation. Anyway, we can give you more information about it. And the nice thing is that, when you guys choose to kill it, we get a lot more information. So we used to get basically nothing, now we get a mini dump. So there's a lot more information coming into us. We can see where software was hung or killed. So now that we've had basically several service packs of this for 2019, we've been able to do something about it. So in 19 SB4, we delayed the release because we saw actually some comments coming in, actually in the CrashDash, some good comments coming in led us to figure out some of it. We got a 15% reduction in hangs for 2019, and 2020 SP2, which is due out Monday for EV. We have a fundamental change, so all hangs we're hoping will be a lot improved. Right, and then the other obvious thing I mentioned, so all the performance fixes, so when something takes too long, it's not a hang, but you get impatient and kill it. All these performance projects that we're doing will also, reduce the hang kill rate. All right, and then just other internal process improvements. One of the things we do, I've mentioned stuff before, I'm just mentioning this new thing. We have the crash dash I showed you. We also have a static code check tool. So our code base, we run it through a utility that can actually analyze code without running it, and it can look at certain coding things that look wrong and tell us that that code doesn't look right. So we'll diligently go through that, but what we're doing is we're aligning these two systems up to help us. So if a crash comes in from crash dash and it tells us this line of code crashed, we're lining it up with a static code check system and seeing if there's a match that, oh, bad line of code and a crash. So it helps us, again, try and solve things with all the data that we have available to us. All right, and lastly, just a couple updates for our websites. We just pushed this live about 2 weeks ago. I know a lot of people, this actually was a top 10, right? So the graphics card certification page. So this has been cleaned up a little bit. It should be a little easier to use. That is live now. And then several other pages that should be live by the end of the month. Just the list of fixed SPRs, list of hot fixes, and then the download page. So that's it. And I think if we have any questions, we can take them.